Do you ever find yourself sitting down to study English and feeling a bit bored? You have your textbooks, your grammar exercises, your vocabulary lists to learn, and it feels a bit like hard work. Today we're going to change that. I'm going to give you a taster menu of the interesting topics that we cover in our subscription service. Let's see if you're interested in these subjects. Why did a famous tech boss share a warning about our jobs only to delete it in a panic? Why do some people seem to grow old, faster than others? Which museum has just beaten all the royal palaces to become the most popular attraction in the UK? And can managing your money be a mental health problem? Just imagine hearing about all this interesting stuff while doing your intermediate English language learning at the same time. So let's do something different today. Often in podcasts, I say to you, we have a great subscription service. For just a small fee per month, you can subscribe and get 8 extra Adept English episodes every month. And if you do this, your English will really improve. I say that a lot. But today, let me give you a taster, a flavour of the type of topics that I cover in the Adept English subscription service in our subscription episodes. This gives you lots of intermediate English language listening to practice with, but unlike much English learning material, it's interesting. You're hearing about things that you might want to read about or listen to in your own language. And how do I make it something you can understand? Well, I put it in my own words and I explain the most difficult words so that you can access more complicated topics. And this offers you a superb learning opportunity. I also use techniques like spaced repetition to help you learn new vocabulary and phrases, help them stick in your mind. And if you really want to understand the Adept English way of working, how it works, our method for getting you to speak fluent English, then sign up for our free course. Yes, free. The 7 Rules of Adept English. This explains some of the basics, the fundamentals of how your brain learns language naturally. And this course helps you understand the techniques we use and why our method works to help you become more fluent, even where other methods have failed, which is often the case. So today's podcast topic, 4 short tasters or tastes of topics that may become subjects for future subscription episodes, just so you get a feel for the type of thing we offer with subscription. Here goes. First topic, a negative attitude towards aging makes you age faster, says the New Scientist. I love the photograph that goes with this article. I feel like that sometimes. So let us start with this article about the human mind. This is from the New Scientist and it's recent. It asked if a negative attitude towards aging, growing older, translates into physically aging faster. We often think of getting older as a biological fact or a biological process that you can do little about. But researchers are finding that negative attitudes towards aging are very common in our culture. So this is according to a major study in Neuroscience News. What you believe about getting older literally can change your biology. So this is from researchers at Yale University who looked at 11,000 Americans over a period of 10 years. They found that 45% showed measurable improvement, both physical and mental, over this period. Yes, you heard right, improvement, and 45% of them. Why? Why did this happen? Well, the scientists found that 45% had positive beliefs about getting older. And it proves what scientists say about our bodies having a reserve capacity. This seems to be an extra store of strength and ability, which the body keeps hidden, ready to use. And people with a positive mindset positive attitude were unlocking this. It's a classic example of what we call in English self-fulfilling prophecy. That's prophecy, P-R-O-P-H-E-C-Y. A prophecy is a statement about the future, a prediction, if you like. You say what's going to happen. And a self-fulfilling prophecy is a situation where your belief that something's going to happen actually makes it happen. This brings me to one of my favourite podcasters, Dr. Rangan Chatterjee. He recently hosted Dr. Tommy Jones, who is an expert on aging. He talked about another doctor in the 1800s, early 1900s called Dr. William Osler. Dr. Osler believed that people had a fixed period of usefulness. You were no good after the age of 60. And this has influenced us massively, but it's not actually true. If you expect to lose brain power because you believe that that is part of aging, then you stop doing the things, like working, having a job, that maintain it. And it's this that loses the function much more than brain aging. And there are cultures and places in the world where the normal understanding is that people become more able as they get older, not less. Dr. Chatterjee talks about a tribe in South America where the fastest runners are the 60 and 70-year-olds. That sounds hard to believe, doesn't it? But these ideas really challenge our expectations about becoming older. Much of it is in your mind and in your mindset, your attitude. So don't say to yourself, I can't learn English because I'm too old. Say instead to yourself, you can learn English at any time, at any age, and I'm going to prove that. Learning a language also helps your brain stay functional and young. Topic number 2. OpenAI co-founder shares list of jobs most at risk from AI and then deletes it. So speaking of modern fears, let's move to our next topic, artificial intelligence. Or bloody AI. I say it like that because many people have grown to hate AI and the effect that it's likely to have on our world. Actually, I think the effects will be both positive and negative. But one of our biggest fears about AI, it's going to take our jobs, our work. So did you see the news recently about Andrej Karpathy? He is one of the co-founders of OpenAI. That's the company behind ChatGPT, which I'm sure you've heard of. Well, recently Mr. Karpathy shared a list of jobs and details of which ones he believed were most at risk from AI. Then, rather mysteriously, he deleted it. Now, whenever a tech boss deletes a post, people take screenshots and pay close attention. So Mr. Karpathy had listed a whole lot of what we call white-collar jobs, office jobs that AI will soon be able to do, like coding, copywriting. And people are understandably very worried about this, that their hard-earned skills will no longer be useful, no longer get them a job. So it's a diagram and there are jobs in dark green, light green and red. That's code for whether or not they're likely to be taken away by AI. I must admit, I had a quick look to see how psychotherapists like me would fare in this new AI world and was reassured. Probably we're still needed. People like to tell their problems to a person rather than to some machine. But the diagram is fascinating. Andrej Karpathy did reinstate the diagram, meaning he put it back online for people to see. Next topic. Is there such a thing as financial anorexia? This was a newspaper headline. Financial anorexia. I'm scared of spending money and I save obsessively. It's ruining my life. That's a newspaper headline from The Independent in the UK that was published recently. I must admit, psychologists seem to come up with a new type of mental health disorder every week. I hadn't heard of this one. And I think, really, we are all different as human beings, and we show our distress in different ways. It doesn't necessarily need a new label each time. But let's look at this idea of financial anorexia for a minute. Financial, Financial, means to do with money, and anorexia, Anorexia. We usually associate anorexia with a terrible eating disorder where people are terrified to eat, terrified to gain weight, and as a result eat very little. And this can be very dangerous and hard to get out of. But here, psychologists are using the phrase financial anorexia to describe a problem relationship with money. Financial anorexia is when a person has plenty of money, but they are absolutely terrified to spend it. Being careful with your money is generally a good thing. We praise people who are frugal. Frugal, Frugal, just means being sensible and not wasting your money. But this new trend is different. It's not that. People with financial anorexia are not just frugal. They're completely trapped. They don't socialize with friends. They don't turn on their heating in the winter, even when their bank accounts are full. And they don't go on holiday or do anything nice. Fear of financial ruin has taken over their rational minds. People with this disorder cannot enjoy life, can't even do moderate, sensible spending on things they need. I'm sure this problem has come about in part because of our ability these days to check our bank account, check our bank balance anytime, night or day, on our phones. Online banking is a great thing. But I can imagine it makes things worse if you have financial anorexia. Fourth topic, the London attraction that is world famous and which has just become the most popular. So this is talking about the Science Museum in London. If you've ever visited London as a tourist, then you've probably visited lots of tourist attractions. But Condé Nast Traveller recently reported that there is a new, most popular attraction. The London Science Museum has officially become the UK's most popular attraction, 7.1 million visitors in 2025 alone. That's a huge number of people coming through the doors. It's got a huge life-size dinosaur skeleton. It's the first thing you see in there. The article says it's topped the royal palaces because it's so highly interactive. Actually, I can think of other reasons why maybe our royal palaces are not as popular as they used to be. That's another topic. In the Science Museum, you aren't just looking at objects in dusty glass boxes. It's interactive. You can push buttons, get involved, feel and experience things. And with space exploration and climate technology, much of what is on view in the Science Museum is highly relevant. So if you're visiting London anytime soon, you know where to go. And it's great for children as well as adults. So there you have it, a quick taster menu of 4 different topics. Typical topics for our subscription service. If this was a normal subscription episode, I'd just take one of these topics and talk about that. Listening to varied English like this really builds your vocabulary about all kinds of things, words you will actually use, as well as making you comfortable with all the really common words. Thank you so much for listening.